Good afternoon, White Plains. Good afternoon, everybody. It is 12 o'clock on Friday. I am going to wait just a couple of seconds to let folks jump in. Good afternoon. Good afternoon. Folks are jumping in now. Again, thanks so much for taking time out of your day today to drop in to this community update for Friday, March 4th, 2022. Thanks so much for joining. This video, of course, will be left on Facebook, be available for folks to view at their leisure. We'll also have it extracted and posted on our district's website for folks to be able to check in at any time. It's interesting. Good afternoon, everybody. It's good to see you. Thanks so much for being here. It's interesting as I was thinking about this. On Monday, this coming Monday, it will be 2 years 2 years since we first met with County Executive George Latimer and his team and Mayor Roach as we were trying to identify what we would do, how we would approach what was at the time a burgeoning pandemic. And it's hard to believe that come Monday, it's been 2 years of Mondays that we have been meeting with our partners in the county. So I just want to give a shout out and thank George Latimer, Joe Glazier, Dr. Amler, Joe McDonald, Emily Salzman. The whole team at the county has been just tremendous in supporting us along the way. So thanks to everybody there. I also want to thank Mayor Roach, the Common Council, and everybody in White Plains for all of your support. 2 years is a long time to be doing something every day without fail. So we've come a long way. Without a doubt, we've come a long way. The sun is shining today. It's still a little cold, but the sun is shining today, and it's Friday. I got a lot for you today, not just COVID-19 related, which is great. And I'm looking forward to sharing with you. Just waiting another second or so as people are jumping on, and then we will get right into it. Do want to start out offering a huge thanks, as always, to our Board of Education. Tremendous leadership under extraordinary pressure. And the biggest, I think the heaviest lift I can speak for our board is that their desire at every turn is to do what's right for kids and our families. And you know, throughout the pandemic, everybody's needs were unique and continue to be unique. So trying to, again, walk that tight rope and meet everyone where they need to be has been a goal of our board and our entire team here in the White Plains City School District. So again, thanks to the board and thanks to all of our team members here in the district. Today is a National Maintenance Professional Day, so big shout out to all our folks in facilities and operations. Thanks so much to everybody for all that they continue to do to keep our facilities both beautiful and welcoming and safe too. So thanks to all of you. And then of course to you at home, moms and dads, parents and guardians, our students, all of our faculty, staff, administrators, support staff members. It's just everybody who has helped us along the way and continues to do so every day. It is a team effort. We could never have accomplished what we did accomplish without this extraordinary effort on behalf of all of our stakeholders. So thank you all. It's been a big week, but before I get into the particulars about this week, I need to call attention. I just have to call attention and bear with me, please, and celebrate with me. Huge shout out to our student athletes for the winter season 21-22. We have a ton of students who received a great deal of recognition this year, and you know the team records were tremendous, but individual students, and I'm just going to go through it. I'm going to share them with you. We have all league folks who have been identified as all league student athletes. Danny Cardoza for ice hockey. These are all ice hockey students. Jason Monti, Justin Esposito, Jesse Formica. In wrestling, Carlos Rivera, Anthony Plunkett, Nathan Espelot. In indoor track, a tremendous number of student athletes. Sophie Ginsburg, Mia Priori, Julia Beckman, Skylar Robert Harris, Priya Kumar, Rena Stangolini, Ariana Allende, Gia Priori, Sydney DiPietro, Gabby Perez, Vogue Friend, Celia Imperato, Kayla Rett, April Antonecchia, Eric Antonecchia, Chris Bagley, Aiden Bartlett, Patrick Brown, Joe, and this is all league. Joey D'Amelio, Isaiah Graham, Eric Johnson, William Cow, Mason Lang, Jacob Lee, Philip Mann, Albert Mundadan, Mark Rosenthal, Matthew Sellinger, Ronan Staub, Patrick Stanton, Yuki Watanabe, Logan McCormick, Menzie Carden, Elijah Pierre, Elia McIver, Nivea Plata, Sequoia Lane, Kevin Yoke, Carter Reynolds, Edward Molina. Now all conference students, Menzie Carden for boys basketball, all section honorable mention, Jason Monty, ice hockey, Justin Esposito, ice hockey, Jesse from Ricca, ice hockey, Julia Beckman, indoor track. We have all section student athletes, Dan Cardoza for ice hockey, Carlos Rivera wrestling, Nathan Espelot wrestling, Sophie Ginsburg indoor track, Maya Perari indoor track, Eric Antonecchia indoor track, Aaliyah McIver girls basketball, and Eva Plata girls basketball, all state. First team all state to Dan Cardoza ice hockey. Congratulations. League MVP and Player of the Year. Again, Danny Cardozo, congratulations, Tiger. And League Coach of the Year, Coach Howard Rubenstein for the White Plains High School ice hockey team. Let's hear it for everybody in White Plains and White Plains High School. Congratulations to all of you Tigers. Really, really proud of you. So again, big week. Masks became optional in the White Plains City School District and all across the state of New York this week. Thank you again for all of your help as we transition from a period in time where the health safety mitigation standards were at a very high level, and now we're at a place where we are seeing that they're beginning to ramp down. Again, directly connected to the level of illness in our region and in our community. Didn't come soon enough. I know that. For many folks in our community, didn't come soon enough. I also know that for many folks in our community, with moving to a mask optional situation, it brings a level of anxiety. We've talked about that and we'll continue to talk about that and support our students. I talked to a lot of children this week as we transition to a mask optional environment. Many of our students continue to choose to wear masks. We had students approach their teachers, letting them know that they're still going to choose to wear masks. Our teachers have been tremendous in letting students know how they can make their choice, and whatever they choose is just okay. Kids are thinking about a lot of things. They're thinking about loved ones at home, maybe folks with compromised immune systems. They want to do what they can do, what they believe they can do to keep people safe, and we respect that. We also respect folks who have decided that, you know, for them, mask optional and taking their masks off has been the best thing that's happened in a long time. And we see it always. And, you know, I'm very happy to see our children's faces. And I'm also very happy to support our children who continue to wear masks. So it's been a big week for us. I can tell you could feel the energy in our buildings on Wednesday when we became mask optional, even for folks, and maybe 50-50, maybe 60-40, it depends, who decided to keep their masks on still. A feeling that we are all coming together to another place in this pandemic. It has been a long road. And so these feelings, these bright spots in the timeline, as I call them, these feelings of success have really brought a sense of positive energy to everybody, and that's really great. We still have health safety mitigation strategies in place. I'll talk about those. I'll talk about how they're going to be modified or falling away as the future, as we move into the future. I also have a great list of questions that have been submitted ahead of time. But the couple of topics that I want to hit on before I move into the questions. So first, school safety. And safety and security in our buildings. 2 weeks ago, unfortunately, White Plains was covered very broadly because of a video that was created by students at our high school. Now, I can't speak directly about individual children, and I never would, and I know you respect and understand that. But here's what I can tell you. In those types of situations, those children who are involved in situations like that are making a decision that will have really negative consequences on their academic future. You can't do those things. We can't be in school and acting aggressively or acting violently, videoing these types of scenarios, putting them out on social media. It's just, it's not going to be tolerated. So why I'm sharing that is because for our Tigers who are hearing this right now, you must understand that if you engage in that kind of behavior, the responsibility is yours. And, I can't, again, speak to individual cases of student consequences, but I know as parents and guardians, we want to know what happens. Let me tell you, again, in a hypothetical, if you were engaged in a behavior like that, in my estimation, you're engaged in some of the most egregious behavior that could happen within school. We can't allow it. Our schools need to be safe, they need to be welcoming, secure, warm places for all of our children. So if you're not going to be part of that community, if you're making the choice not to be part of that community, then you cannot be part of that community. That doesn't bring me any joy to say that, but I have to say it. I have to be really clear. I know that our principals are being really clear. And so for moms and dads, it's a moment in time where we can talk to our kids and say, look, this is something that's happened in school that we saw. Maybe it's another scenario in another school district somewhere else that you're using as a teachable moment. But what our kids, what I hope that we are imparting to our children is that when you make decisions like this, there's no coming back from them. Sure, life will go on, but life will go on in a different way now, right? So to our students, please make good choices. First of all, you shouldn't be involved in any type of a situation where there's violence or aggression at school. That should never occur. But second of all, when you're making posts to social media, really think. Those posts don't go away. They last forever. So you make a post when you're 16 years old, there is no guarantee that that post is not going to resurface when you're applying to college, that it's not going to resurface when you're applying for a job. All of these things matter, and we really need to think about that. We'll continue to do what we can at school to support, but at the same time, we need our students to recognize how important it is to make these good choices. Now, from a safety and security perspective, we've made, every time a situation occurs, we work with our folks to really dissect that situation and make changes where need be. I will tell you, at the high school, we are looking at different approaches with regard to safety and security. We're looking at additional security guards, different pacings and different patterns in terms of their monitoring within the facility, the visiting of restrooms, again, not posting up in a restroom. We understand about privacy rights and the like, but visiting all restrooms during all periods. And again, students need to understand that the behavior expectations are what they are. They're high, and we expect every member of our community to meet them. We're also looking at potential technology that can assist us in dissuading students from making bad choices with regard to posting to social media. More to come on that. We're exploring what is out there, what we can employ, and what would be appropriate for our kids. The most important thing, though, is that we as individuals are governing ourselves appropriately, right? We all make mistakes. Gosh, I make a lot of mistakes every day, and I got to own them. As students, you can make mistakes, but there is a line that it's no longer a mistake. Now it's a crime, right? Assault is a crime. Intimidation is a crime. We cannot and we will not condone those types of behaviors. So more to come on that. I know Principal Martinez had a PTA meeting last night, was a topic of discussion, and I appreciate that, and we'll continue to focus. But the end result is this: we will not look away from behaviors that are unacceptable in our schools. Folks, everybody will be held accountable, including myself. And we will move forward. So thank you for your help there. Thank you for taking this opportunity as a teachable moment for our kids. And thanks to all of you who've reached out and offered your thoughts, your recommendations, and ways in which that we can approach making sure we have the best measures and the most common sense measures in place in our schools. Changing guidance for COVID-19 is something that has been a point of frustration for many of us. Oftentimes we used to joke about how guidance would be delivered under the cover of night, maybe on a Friday before a holiday. That still keeps happening, right? We saw that this week, 7:30 on Tuesday night, the day before the masks in public schools were to become optional. But we are grateful that we have it. So even though it came late, we're glad that we have it. We've shared that with our community. Take the time to look through it if you like. Basically, the biggest shift in the guidance that we received this week, it was, of course, the mask optional piece. Now, that's optional everywhere. It's optional on school buses. It's optional, for athletic events, for activities, so on and so forth. The rest of the mitigation strategies that are in place in our buildings, things like physical distancing, daily health screeners, temperature checks, testing, barriers. All of those pieces are being explored individually right now. You may have watched this week's reopening committee meeting and gotten a chance to get some insight in how we're going to approach those other layered mitigation strategies. Important point. The wellness centers, aka nurses' offices in our schools, are treated as medical facilities or medical rooms. So when students go into the nurse's office, and of course they're triaging all different types of potential illnesses or injuries, or sometimes kids just go because they need a hug or something to eat. The nurses are masked, and if need be, students who may be exhibiting signs or symptoms of illness will be masked as well. That is in line with healthcare facilities and wellness facilities all throughout the state. So that's just a point to recognize in case anyone was concerned about their children visiting the nurse's office as maybe a point of contact for communicable illness, which it always could be, right? Because colds, flu, strep throat, all of those things that sort of roll through the public school setting, we have to be cognizant of that as well. So we are. Masks are still available for students who want them. They're able to get them. Testing is going to continue in the district for folks who wish to participate in testing. We're going to continue to notify the community that they are able to participate in testing. We're going to send tests home for folks to use if they want to at certain points in time throughout the remainder of the school year. Things like spring break, maybe before prom, junior prom, all of those types of scenarios to give folks the tools that they need to be confident that they're well before they go out and participate in these events. And again, that's all optional, but we want to keep those options open. Vaccination clinics, opportunities for vaccination, opportunities for boosters, we're going to keep doing that as well. Barriers and the like, barriers in cafeterias and such, they're going to be coming down. They're actually down in some places already, but the different buildings are in the process right now of examining, taking them down, keeping some for folks who might still want to use those as needed and as the comfort level changes with regard to where folks are on the continuum of concern. And we'll keep you updated as we shift those as well. The most important thing that we can do, and really this has been something that has been super important all throughout the pandemic, is making sure, taking stock of how we are, how we're feeling, whether or not we're well, and if we're not feeling well, to stay home. And that goes for me, it goes for employees, it goes for students, and that's what we want to do. We want to keep doing everything we can to keep people healthy, and that's not just COVID-19, but any type of communicable illness. We've done a good job actually of curbing the spread of those over the last 2 years in our schools as well. I can't speak for the rest of the country, but I can tell you the typical things that we would have seen in our schools this year, we've not seen. And a lot of that has to do with the health safety mitigation strategies that we've had in effect. So ventilation, getting those doors open, getting outside as the weather continues to get nicer, all of those things are going to continue to take place. Activities, end of the year or even mid, spring activities, end of the year activities. Yes, we are planning in-person activities. We are planning to welcome visitors back into our facilities. We're looking at ways that we can make shifts to the remainder of the year to have in-person activities and events, all of those things. Yes, we want them to, and we're working to have them too. We're also looking to see how we can continue to use things like Zoom for parents and guardians who aren't able to get to evening meetings, but who are still interested in accessing those meetings. So we will be mixing it up and using a combination of those types of technologies and in-person meetings as we move into the future. We learned a lot from parents and guardians as we had virtual meetings. A lot of parents told us and continue to tell us that virtual access helps them because they don't work typical hours, or because they commute, or because they have young children at home that they need to make sure that they're attending to, but they still want to jump into a PTA meeting, or they still want to jump into a meeting with me or the principal. So more to come on that, but we'll keep using those services as we can into the future to support you as well. Trips, class trips are being planned, and kids are going to be going on class trips again. Folks that were asking me, are there vaccination requirements? We saw in the past for some trips and some athletic events, depending upon where they were being held, that there were or are vaccination requirements there. I suspect that those will change as time goes on. But we of course will be communicating with parents and guardians and avoiding scenarios for class trips where students need to be vaccinated. We recognize that vaccination is not right for everybody. So we want to make sure that when we have class trips or kids are visiting, as a class or a group together, that there are no barriers for them to be able to attend those types of settings. Okay, cool. Question and answer time. I have a stack of questions here. As always, I will do my best to answer these questions. If I don't give you the answer as clearly as you had hoped, please feel free to reach out to me anytime. If there's time after, I will go into the comment section and take a look and see if there are any lingering questions. So if you're writing questions in the comments, just bear in mind, I may not see it. I'll do my best. I'll go in at the end and take a look. But if your question doesn't get answered, please reach out. I'm happy to answer any questions that I'm able to answer. So first one, good morning. And can you provide details about graduation? How many guests will be allowed? When will occur? Other end of the year celebrations, especially for our seniors? Thanks for your question. Touched on it just a little bit. You're going to get all of that information is going to be coming from the high school related to end of the year activities and events. I can tell you that we are planning for an in-person commencement like we did last year on Laux Field. We got great reviews and feedback from that, and we're going to do that again this year. I am just hoping that we get another 70-degree sunny day at the end of June. That would be wonderful. But yes, all of those things will be happening this year, and more to come from the high school on that. Next question. Will the barriers between children in the cafeteria be removed? They will, and some are already. Many are already. Will the children be allowed to go back to picking their tables and who they sit with? That's a great question. I would ask the principal that question. I think there are probably other logistical concerns there, but definitely to your point, I know potting and keeping kids in groups was one of the steps that we took in terms of being able to contact trace. So yeah, I suggest you just reach out to the school and they'll be able to help you with that question. Next question. With the end of the mask requirement this week and the end of the request of parents to report their children's health status with a daily health screener, right? The daily health screener is going away. Thank you for pointing that out. Will the school district take more opportunities to remind families of the value of participating in free weekly testing and specific opportunities for vaccination? None of the emails that were sent by the district on Sunday, Tuesday, or Wednesday about lifting the mask requirement touched on these points. Such an email is an opportunity to make our community healthier and safer. Yes, thank you very much. It's a great point. We will be sending out separate emails of reminders for testing opportunities. What we're trying to do is trying to keep the information manageable and digestible. And yes, we will have separate emails and reminders for those opportunities, as well as right now. So, please, folks, take advantage of those free and voluntary testing opportunities. I'm interested in hearing about the protocol for colds and allergies moving forward. I'm choosing to have my child wear a mask because my child has been wearing one for 2 years, and without one, I'm sure my child will get a cold or sick, not COVID related. Will my child have to stay home every time my child, and I'm dropping the pronoun out so that no identification, every time my child gets a simple runny nose from a small cold or allergies? Thank you so much for your question. So 2 parts. One, really, if I'm sick, if I have a cold or flu, I should stay away from people if I can spread that. Allergies are different. If I'm suffering from seasonal allergies and I've got a runny nose and itchy eyes and all those things, no problem at all. No, children are not going to be sent home for runny noses, itchy eyes, or the like. Right now, children, or they haven't been being sent home, even with those types of symptoms, right? Because we have the Test to Stay program in place. Test to Stay will continue to be in place, and we'll work with any family whose child may be exhibiting symptoms, but definitely exclusion from school is not the first step any longer. So that's great news. If your child suffers from seasonal allergies, and just feel free to let your school nurse know. They'll be able to assist. But yeah, we want kids in school, and we want to avoid children having to be home for any reason. So hopefully that's helpful to your particular question. If I can help, just reach out. Will you please consider an opportunity for K and 1 parents to tour the schools? They've never been inside our schools. It's a great point. Yes, we are working on those opportunities now. Will you please explain why different schools have different policies regarding food and celebrations? they shouldn't have different policies regarding food and celebrations. I would suggest reaching out either to your school principal, you probably already did that, but I will also circle back with our school leaders and check in on that. But there should be consistency with regard to celebrations and food in the schools. Thanks for bringing that up. When will the barriers come down to the cafeteria? Yep, they're coming down now. And again, for folks who may like barriers, there will still be opportunities for folks, children to have barriers if they need them, or if they feel they need them. Thanks for your questions. And I'm actually at the last, believe it or not, I'm at the last set of questions here. As COVID cases in Westchester have fallen, we've been a bit confused about the information being provided about cases in schools, which is important for us to help understand the decisions we have made about masking our kids, specifically when we get emails like this. And there's an attached email. Okay, there's an attached email here, or a picture rather, that 2 members of the MAS community have tested positive on a day when the county is only reporting something like 80 cases in all of Westchester. Wouldn't that suggest an extremely high ratio of cases when the entire county versus our school? I understand what you're saying, and yes, it would suggest that. It's not the first time we've noticed this kind of discrepancy with the overall county trends, and we're trying to make sense of it. Additionally, the data on New York State's school report card shows a huge outlier among other schools in White Plains with nearly 1,000 higher cases than in other districts. And the individual sent me a screenshot that has a typo in it, and it has 697 cases at MAS, which is definitely a typo. Yes, these are absolutely input errors, data input errors. And thanks for bringing them up. We'll circle back with our folks and take a look. I can't speak for the number of identified cases in the county, 80 versus 2 at MAS, but I can tell you that what we are doing is when we have identified cases of COVID-19, we're letting you know. I know we don't have to, but we are letting you know. We think it's important. We let you know about other communicable illnesses in your children's classes, and we want to keep doing the same here. So that's what we're going to continue doing into the future. But thank you very much for bringing up. It's a good point. New questions just came in from Mrs. Torres. Thanks for that. She's always on point. Why are we taking down the barriers? There could be a surge again, and as we see in the past, there's no harm in waiting. What's the benefit? Thanks for your question. And this is a great in real time example of where people sit on all different sides of the conversation with regard to health safety standards. So it's important to remember that barriers were not required since last year. We chose to keep barriers up in our cafeterias as an additional layer of mitigation. That worked well in some places, it didn't work well in other places. What we are doing now is we are removing the barriers based on the individual schools. The principals are working with their school communities and removing barriers based on what's working for them. Barriers will still remain. It is important to note that there has not been yet a scientific study that has reported that barriers have decreased the spread of illness. Now, one would think that if you put something in front of me and it keeps particles from getting to you, that would help, and I agree. But what I'm explaining, or trying to explain, maybe inartfully so, is that we're going to try again to thread the needle here, but we have no data to support that barriers have helped us reduce a surge. What we know is high vaccination rate in our region. We know that even in the situation where we had all of these different layers of mitigation, Omicron beat them all, right? Omicron beat them all. That particular variant spread so fast and so rapidly through people that even despite having health safety barriers that helped keep spread from happening in school, outside of school, it spread. So it's a challenge, but we are prepared if there, God forbid, is a surge, a new variant. We are prepared to be able to move backwards if we need to. We hope we don't have to, but anything we've learned is to be prepared, so we are. Thanks for the question. Do students need to get vaccinated to go on field trips? No, they don't. Students, and that's a great question, thank you. We have been giving opportunities for our children to be vaccinated. We want to continue to offer opportunity. It's completely up to you. It is a familial decision, it's a family decision in concert, I would imagine, with your healthcare provider. Vaccines are not, or COVID-19 vaccines are not required for children in our school district. Thank you for your question. Why are The bathrooms in both middle schools either locked or have the doors propped open. Most kids are not acting inappropriately in school settings. You're right. This is a great question, and thanks for asking this question. Most children, the vast majority of our children, do not act inappropriately in school settings. And that's important. We serve thousands of kids every day, and I can't be more proud of our children. It is true. The vast majority of children do not get in trouble. They don't make decisions that show up on the news. But we also have a responsibility to make sure that those children are safe and feel safe. And when we have to intercede and intervene to make sure that we're not creating an environment, or at least we're doing what we can proactively to remove environmental factors that could tempt students to make poor decisions, we're doing that. I can't speak to particularly at the middle school which bathrooms, but I'm sure Mr. Spatafor or Mr. Dixon would be able to speak to that. But we've curved some bathrooms for periods of time during the school day to ensure that we have the appropriate supervision. Again, not in the restroom when kids are using the restroom, but in and around, or around the restrooms rather, and moving through quickly. That can change, and we can get to a place where we don't need to do it. But at the moment, right now, we are acting proactively to do that. But again, I think Mr. Dixon and Mr. Spatafor or Mr. Martinez will be able to speak directly to any particular concerns. Thank you so much. Ms. Torres coming in with another question. Will you be monitoring? Thanks for your question. Will you be monitoring masking for kids and staff who are returning from testing positive and or are exposed and expected to mask? If so, how? Great question. I like how you framed that, because you read the guidance, and in the guidance it is recommended that when folks are exposed to COVID-19 or coming off of having COVID-19, that they continue to mask and wear masks at school. And then somebody will ask, well, how will you know? We might not know in all cases. We are asking folks to communicate with us and let us know if you are coming off of being sick with COVID-19. If it's identified in school, of course we will know. And yes, you're required to wear a mask after that. That's one of the requirements that are in the guidelines if you have been sick for a period of time after you've been sick. We will monitor those situations, again, knowing who was sick and knowing who's not sick. But we're also asking, as we have throughout this entire pandemic, for support from parents and guardians in the home and communicating with us to make sure that we're keeping everybody as safe as we possibly can. But to your question and to your point, yeah, it's a bear. It is a real challenge. Does require self-reporting, does require self-testing in some instances, and then self-reporting. So we're going to be working on that as well too. Great question. Thank you, everybody. I just want to make sure that I'm not missing anything here, and I think I have them. I think I have them all. Wait. Jamie brings in a good point. It might make students feel like they're assumed to be bad. So why are we? So why be respectful when they're not respected? That's a great point. And yeah, we need to make sure that our students understand that they are respected, and create warm, welcoming environments where everybody feels safe and secure. And that is our endeavor, and that's why at the school level we speak with our kids and let them know what we're doing. And many times our children are part of the process of addressing situations. And look, let me tell you something you already know. There are going to be situations in schools where kids misbehave. We know that. We were all in schools, right? And maybe maybe it's not something that we'd readily admit, but we all understand what it means to be a student, what it means to be in school. We know that there are things that are going to happen that are mistakes. They're easily corrected, and we move forward. We also know that from time to time, kids make bad decisions. Look, we will do what we can to support children proactively so they don't make bad decisions, and even when they make bad decisions, to support them so that they can recover from those. When they can recover from those. But there are times, and that's the point that I was hitting on earlier, or trying to address earlier. There are times where decisions can be made and the behavior can be so egregious that there is no coming back from it, or at least in that particular school setting. And that's what we have to be cognizant of. Because as I've shared with you, when you come to a superintendent's hearing, it's really a quasi-judicial process. So essentially, there can be attorneys there, and when you're talking about consequences coming out of a superintendent's hearing, they are very serious consequences. And sometimes those consequences mean that that child doesn't return to the school setting where the act happened. Those are serious, serious consequences, and we do not take them lightly, but they happen. So we need to make good choices. We need to continue to impart on our kids to make good choices. Doesn't mean you're not going to make a mistake, but definitely avoid at all costs those types of situations where you can't recover. I appreciate the questions, and I also appreciate all the hard work that everybody's putting into supporting our kids. We know it's been hard. We knew when kids came back from last year, the summer, in the fall, we have seen, we've seen in person the effects, lingering effects of the pandemic, of isolation, disconnection, loss of loved ones, uncertainty in the home, a lot of things, right? And maybe some of you who are watching this right now have felt those things. In many ways, we've all lost something throughout the pandemic. And it depends. It depends on our particular instances, but we've all suffered, and we know our kids have suffered some of the worst situations. So it's good to be in a better place. And as somebody like you who's been neck deep in it since day one, it feels good to be in a better place. We're going to keep being vigilant. I am not, at all one of those people that will ever say to you, like, we don't have to worry about this ever again anymore. I believe we do. I believe we need to be prepared for pandemics. I believe we need to be prepared for health emergencies. I believe as a community, as a society, we've learned a big lesson here in a lot of ways. We did things really well, and we did things really poorly. And we made mistakes, and we had to correct them. And so we need to take those lessons and move forward. And if you ever want to chuckle, you can go back and actually watch, or even just look at all of the archives of the videos, community updates, planning sessions, all of those things that took place over the last 2 years. And it's interesting because, and I say this interesting to me because I'm a history teacher, it's interesting to see, the progression of where we were and where we've come to. I'm going to leave today where I started, in a vein of thanks and gratitude. We wouldn't be able to, as I mentioned, we wouldn't be able to have done what we did without you, and for that I am grateful, and I know our kids are grateful too. Switching gears now from COVID-19 to a couple of just brief updates I need you to be aware of. They're important. School budget election is coming up. We just finished presenting portions of the instructional and non-instructional budget to our Board of Education. Very exciting stuff, folks. We're going to be presenting the proposed budget in the coming weeks. What do you need to know? You need to know that we are continuing to be committed to the mental health and social and emotional wellness of our kids by increasing our helping professionals through the budget, increasing programming opportunities for students to expand their learning, learn in new ways, innovative programs that you're going to be really excited about. So take a look at those budget presentations. I'll be talking more about that as we get into April and May. But the other thing, well, yeah, okay, great, Joe, how much is it going to cost us? This is really important too. Nothing. The proposed budget that we're putting out this year is a 0% tax increase. Not only does it support all of our programs, but it builds upon our programs in accordance with our long-range plan. That's exciting stuff. Look, we've talked about foundation aid, and when foundation aid was fully funded, being able to support our community, and that's exactly what we're doing. I want to thank the Board of Education for leading this process, and I hope that put a smile to your face. That for once, 1 year, no tax increase associated with the school budget. In fact, we learned because of the tax rate in town that for some people this could actually be a reduction in taxes. Good news. And again, while building, while supporting, while continuing to enrich our children. We are also coming out with a capital plan to support our infrastructure, our buildings into the future. Everything from fields to dance studios to innovative classrooms to HVAC, you name it, it's in there. Every building is touched. It's really exciting stuff. And we'll be sharing more information with you about that as we get closer again to that budget election, where that ballot will, or rather that provision will also be on the ballot. What's that going to cost me, Joe? No tax increase, no increase to the taxpayer. We're going to use old debt that's falling off, and we're going to then align this new program, this new capital plan with that debt that's coming off. So no increase to what's already being paid. This again is really good news. I hope that makes you happy. It sustains us into the future for our little tigers who are coming up, modernizes and continues to keep an amazing campuses all throughout the White Plains community. This is important stuff. We've been working really hard at this. We recognize what folks have sacrificed, and we're going to be looking for you to spread this message as well, and then to come out and participate in the election process in May. More to come on that, but I had to share that with you. Again, everything's still being proposed, but this is exciting for the White Plains community and for our children, and it's a strong indicator of where we are as a school community. So I want to thank everybody. I want to thank you for joining me today for a few minutes, 40 minutes today. I'll be back to give you an update in a couple of weeks. But thanks again for all of your support. Thanks, and just thanks to those of you who just shoot me an email every once in a while and say, hey, we appreciate what you're doing. Could you maybe think about this or do this? I appreciate the feedback, and I'm grateful for it. So listen, have a great weekend. Stay safe, stay strong, and stay WP proud. Thanks, everybody. Take care.